Hello, 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 everybody. It is Angie from the Chasing Meeples podcast with my episode of Board Game and Banter. I am here. This is a redo. I did this last night, and apparently I had everything oriented wrong, so I had to redo it. So there are some things I was going to talk about that, well, you'll see. I talked about last time. I will tell you about Tiletum. That's how pretty sure you pronounce this name of this game. I also have another game here that we might talk about. I don't know much about that game, but I'll just set it over here for now. And I'm set this aside. Okay. I was talking about something very, very important to all of you, and that was my fingernails. I told you that I was going to change my fingernails and that I was getting some brand new ones in the mail straight from China, and they came in. They're adorable. They're breaking like nobody's business. It was crazy how much they were breaking. So they didn't last long. I went back to the old-fashioned nail polish, but I did end up ordering some new sort of manicure kit with some special thingy. So we'll see what that's like when that comes in. But I was pronouncing this name wrong for a couple days, and I'm not going to call anybody out, but I watched a video and I didn't really pay attention very closely to the beginning of the video, unfortunately. And partway in between, the fellas started talking about the name of this game, and I think they were kind of cracking jokes and stuff like that. And they mentioned Tiletum, like tile laying. And I heard that, and I thought that was the way the name was pronounced. So I did some digging, and I believe it's Tileum. Or Tiletum. It is Latin, apparently. But this is the city that you start at. So we'll be talking a little bit about this game. I'm not going to give you a big overview or anything because you can find those elsewhere on YouTube. They'll do complete playthroughs and everything. But you are essentially in here, you're merchants. There is an architect, and you will be traveling around the city. And at the end of every round, there is a fair. We would consider it now a Renaissance fair. Back then, it was just a fair. And each one of the fairs have a point system attached to it. So you want to travel around the map, and you're going to establish a home. And you're doing that so you can keep traveling, because you need to have either your caravan or house in the city when you're ready to score those fairs. And you need your architect to go around to help build some cathedrals. But there's a lot, like I said, it's an easy game. It really is, but there's a lot to it. One thing that I do want to tell you about is that there is a rondel. And the rondel is interesting because it must be at the bottom of the box. The rondel, this is how you're going to decide which action you're going to take. And these are all dice actions. So you use a number of... Yeah, that's right. I opened up and I don't know where it is. You use a number of dice depending on the player count. And the dice are all different colors. They are, well, we have the gray, we have pink or red, we have yellow, we have this light blue. The one thing that does bother me is that this gray and the light blue, they're similar, so that the tokens that are correspond with them, we have the wolf, which doesn't really look like it's gray, and then you have the light blue would be the iron or steel. So, I mean, these are pretty close. I don't know if you can see them at all, but the colors are, it took me a while. And if you are just looking real quickly, you might get confused. I get confused a lot anyway. But each one of the dies correspond with the resources. And the rondelle has pictures of all the dice on there, 1 through 6. And when you shake the dice up, you're going to, like I said, put the number of the die around. For a 2-player game, you ended up keeping 10 dice, which were 2 of each color, but you only shook 8 of them out, and then you would set them around the rondelle. I really hope. Oh, this would be a disaster if I actually lost it. Oh, it's here. Okay. And the rondelle does change, because you will turn it after every round, but this is it. And if you can see it, it has the pips here. Like here is the number 1, and there's a little 6 below it. And then you're going to go, you see the number 6 up here, there's a little 1 below it. So that means you would take 1 resource and you would get 6 action points. So that is really fun. So there's a lot of things that you can do. So when you're choosing a die, there's a lot to think about. It's like, do you want that resource? You may need a certain type of resource. The food is going to help you in your building. The brick helps you in the building process. And then how many actions, because you're going to need to move around this board. So you're going to need movements for some of them. And it's not difficult for a Euro game. There's a lot to think about, though. And there's a lot to do. And so I played 2-handed the first time I played. And I won. And I played 2-handed instead of playing solo, because then if I'm going to teach the game, I know the 2-player rules and I can teach it much better. And I did tell you that I didn't think Chris was going to have that stamina to play it, but he did. And it was crazy because it was kind of late at night when he played. But the first 2 rounds, I was being very careful. Okay, I'm going to say this right on the back. He won, but there's a reason for that. Because the first 2 rounds, and I think I did a really good job slowly explaining how you play the game. But the first 2 rounds, you kind of walk somebody through it. So I wasn't overwhelming him with all the actions and all the things you could do in the actions. We kind of took it slow, and I made sure he knew what he was doing. And so for the first couple rounds, he was taking it slow. I was making sure, like I said, I was making sure he knew what he was doing. But by the 3rd round, it just clicked in and he started playing and he beat me. Oh, my orange. So that is Tiletum. It's a good game. I would recommend it. Now, I had told you all about how I lose things. I lose things like crazy. And how I lost my makeup. I found my makeup. Yeah. But I also lost things like vacuum cleaner, and I lost my Fitbit, which I don't like to wear watches, but that's what I really use it for. And I've come to really rely on it as a watch. So I was looking for it. we have it's like a catch-all table. We have a black table. It's in between the sofa and it's in between our chair. And that's where you set your coffee when you're relaxing, your sodas, things like that. And underneath it, there's a bin and it has my son's toys in it. So you could try to keep somewhat neat and organized. Well, I thought maybe my Fitbit, because we have our chargers are below, and I thought maybe the Fitbit ended up in the bin. And so I started cleaning out the bin, and I found some very interesting things. I did find the attachment to a vacuum, not the one I was looking for, but I found an attachment for a vacuum. I found this. I'm not sure what it is. It looks like there's always a little clip on those report sheets, report binder, those plastic ones. That's what it looks like it should be, but there's no opening for it, so I don't know what this is. That. Now, there were a couple of reasons that made me think that this wasn't always a toy bin, but we'll get to that in a second. I found this. Now, it's not for retainer. It's for one of those, I don't even know what they're actually called. You put it in your mouth when you don't want to grind your teeth. It is empty, but it's been there a while because I haven't used it in about a year. I don't know where that mouth guard is. This. I did not know what this is. I did find out what it was. I found, which is what goes, they go together. So I open this up so I know what this is. But I did not know when I first found it. And I did have it open because I told you I did this yesterday. I thought it was like a chip clip or something. It's the only thing I could think of. It's not. So I found this little, it's got a cord in it. So it's got a little cord, teeny tiny cord. And here are the instructions for it. It's a clip-on ring light for your phone. I've never bought that. I wouldn't want that because I would think I would look silly. So I'm guessing Chris must have bought it. Maybe it was one of those accessory bundle things. So I'm going to guess it is because it's, yeah, I don't know, it's kind of cheesy. Screwdrivers. A couple mini screwdrivers, which you always need to open up the toys and put new batteries in. Fingernail clippers. Oh, this is what makes me think it wasn't always a toy bin. Fingernail glue. And I did realize we had this. I didn't think about it being in there. These are crystals or stones. I think that's a rose quartz. I don't know about these, but there is another one that's real pretty in here. Ooh, that one's heavy. Get this one out. And I'm on the computer, so, which I shouldn't be, right? That, I'm pretty sure that is tiger's eye, and that's super pretty. But a bag of stones. Those crystals, I'm pretty sure are Chris's, if I remember correctly. And they were in the toy bin. So now something makes me think that that wasn't always a toy bin, or at least a child's toy bin, because I finally opened them up, promo cards. Now, I don't know what game they came in. We don't have a game that accompanies this. This says on here, these are sky pillars. For each set of, was it parchment, gain 5 stars. I think it might be tidal blades. It says Tides of Madness. I don't know what game this is for. And I hear it says Tides Time. It's a Portal game. So I'm trying to think of the game, the Portal game. We just got 51st States in. So it didn't come in that because these obviously have been sitting there for a while. So I'm trying to think of another Portal game that we kickstarted and would have been probably like a year ago. This is a little bit of a do-it-yourself, how to remember your RPG dice. When I first started playing RPGs, I think I started taking a little bit too long to figure out which die was a D10. I knew my D20, but you have D10s and D8s and I knew what the D6 is. So I made a little bit. I used a pill container, put the right labels on them, and each one of the dies in there. So when I needed one, I could just flip it open and shake it up. So this was, I think, an adult toy bin originally. Either that, these were some of the things that were on the table and they just got pushed off. But here are more dice. I love these. I love yellow. But then it became quickly apparent that you do not use yellow dice because your DMs can't read your numbers. I don't know the lighting in here. But they have little daisies inside. So they're super cute. So they're just one of these. I got it because I'll put it back in there. And these dice are my gnome dice. And I got them from, not gonna go back, the Nashery, which is a board game cafe in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin. It is a part of Gnome Games. Gnome Games is a friendly local game store Chris and I go to a lot. They have 3 locations, 2 in Green Bay, 1 in Appleton, and then the Nashery, which is a board game cafe, but it also has a nice store in it too. So that's our happy place because the food is great. The people there are great. Sometimes, you know, if you go there, you need to get the blueberry French toast. I love blueberry French toast, and it's the kind with blueberries in toast, not just like that gooey compote that's on top. It's delicious. Sometimes my bacon is burnt. I think next time I'm going to go there, I'm going to say undercook it just a little bit. See, gnomes in there. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know. Lighting. I don't really know what to do for lighting. Chris and I just taped a Favorite Game Friday, and he literally wanted me to set up everything because I taped a video. So I must be an expert. No. So got these lights on, got that light on. Don't know what it's going to look like. T100. See, I knew what that was. Okay. Put that back after. Okay. So there is another game. We went, oh no, this is when I went out to dinner with my daughter, and Chris happened to stop at some game stores, and I think he stopped at Gnome Games, and he got this game. Rolling Heights by John D. Clare. I know nothing about this game. Okay, the only thing I know about it is that you shake meeples. So this is interesting, and I think I might try doing an unboxing. That's a camera angle type of thing that I'm going to have to kind of work with. But I think I might do that. So I've kept it in shrink, and I've done that before where I've kept it in shrink just to do an unboxing, and the videos didn't turn out. But I think I'm going to try it with this one. I'm also considered doing a playthrough, not a playthrough, just to play along. Like I might do a little roll and write and videotape it, and you can watch and play along, or just, listen to me talk as I play a solo game. And I think roll and writes will probably work the best for that. What else? What else? I had somebody ask me a question because I kept saying that we are podcast first. So why am I on video? Because I want you to listen to my podcast. And we had really good. Chris is still in the process of editing it, but it should drop on Friday. But somebody had asked me about my favorite podcast and why I love to do our podcast so much is because our banter is absolutely genuine. And one of the reasons why I love podcasts to listen to is because I can listen to them while I'm in the car. I can listen to them while I'm doing the dishes, all that fun stuff. So what are some of my favorite podcasts? I think first and foremost is going to be Sporadically Bored with Dan Hughes and Mike DeLisio. They are my inspiration. I love their banter. And I think that's where I got the tagline, lighthearted take on board games with a sprinkling of hilarity, because that's truly what they are. And I love that podcast, and I hope it continues. One of the other podcasts that I really, really like is This Game is Broken, which is a comedy panel trivia type of show. And it has Dave Lusa, it has Nick and Mike Murphy, it has Paula Deming and Matthew Jude. And there's always one person that kind of is running the quiz. And I love trivia, right? I do my trivia and my Meeple trivia. And I've never really stolen any of their questions. I kind of get some ideas here and there. But somebody asks the questions, and then there are teams of two. And it's hysterical. That's why I said I love entertainment. The other podcast that I really enjoy is not a board game podcast, but it is board game adjacent. It is an RPG podcast, but I think that it's from the McElroy family. It is Justin, Travis, Griffin, and their dad, Clint. They run, they do RPGs. I think the first one they did was, I think it was D&D. I don't know if it was 4th edition. It wasn't 5. It was before 5. So I don't know if it was 3. It might have been 3. I don't remember which edition of D&D they were doing, but it was a new process for some of them. I don't know how long they've really been doing it. I think podcasting they've been doing for like 20 years. As far as Adventure Zone, they've gone through different RPGs. So they didn't always do D&D. And they've done some RPGs from newer designers. That's what you would call a designer, I guess. Just like a board game designer. Some very interesting ones. They did one called Ethersea, which was very interesting. It was where essentially Griffith's really good at GMing, and they essentially built a world. He had kind of a diagram of a map, and they were just kind of adding features to this world. They knew it was going to be like on the edge of the water, and they kind of had an idea of why they were there, and they just started adding features to it. And then he expanded on the story, and then they went, because of a cataclysm, they had to go under the water, and the whole RPG progressed from there, and it was very interesting. So I love listening to the Adventure Zone. There are some other wonderful, the Board Game Specialists. Is it Now Whose Turn Anyway? There's just a lot. There are a lot of really good board game podcasts. So I will let you go. I've been talking probably been talking too long tonight, but thank you very much for coming along to Board Game and Banter. I hope you do all those things that everybody always asks people to do about liking, following, subscribing, something about a notification bell. We upload our podcast to every podcast player: iHeart, Apple, Google, Spotify, um, we have Podcast Addict or something. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them, just about everything. And then Chris will also upload them to YouTube. So if you do the whole notification thing, you'll find out when we upload a new one. Other than that, did I mention we're a podcast? I did. So if you can give us maybe a nice comment on there. We do have a website. So it's chasingmeeples.buzzsprout.com. That just gives you a little bit of a bio, and that also connects you to all our podcasts. We have an email. So if you have any questions for me or anything you want to chat about or think that maybe we should banter about, we're chasingmeeples@yahoo.com. I am on Instagram, and we also have a Facebook page, just Chasing Meeples. So thank you, and maybe we'll